Hello everyone, and welcome to this mortgage repayment calculator video series where I'll be showing you how to create a mortgage repayment dashboard like this one here to help you keep track of your mortgage payments and compare mortgage options. In section 1 we have the mortgage inputs, including the mortgage amount, the interest rate and the term in years, as well as the outputs, including the monthly mortgage payments, the total cost, and how much of this cost consists of interest payments. We also have an amortisation table which shows us how our balance, interest and principal change over time. Here we've used VBA to help us adjust the amount of years shown, so that if we change the term to say 2 years, the table adjusts. We've then provided the following charts over here to illustrate this visually. Finally, in section 3 we can compare various options, which ultimately allows us to rank them based on their total cost. Today we'll discuss section 1 and the start of section 2. So let's get started and open a new worksheet. Let's start by writing the title and adding the inputs. So our title is going to be section 1 inputs and outputs. And for our inputs we're going to have the mortgage amount, the interest rate and the term in years. From mortgage amount we're going to assume this to be £200,000. Let's say the interest rate is 5% and let's assume our mortgage term to be 30 years. We can now format this table by clicking Alt-HJ and let's select heading 3. We can also format the inputs by clicking Alt-HJ once again and let's go for this one. Next we can calculate our outputs. We're going to have the monthly payments, the total cost and the total interest. Now, for the monthly payments, Excel has provided us with a very handy function, which is the PMT function. So we enter equals PMT. It's first asking us for the interest rate, so we take the annual interest rate and divide it by 12 to get the monthly rate. Next, it's asking us for the number of periods or months, which is going to be the term multiplied by 12. And finally, we input the mortgage amount. Now you'll notice that when I click enter, we get a negative value as we're calculating a payment. To make this value positive, we can add a negative sign in front of it. To calculate the total cost, we're going to take the monthly payments, multiply it by the term, and multiply this by 12. The total interest payments is how much we're paying above and beyond the initial mortgage amount. So we take the total cost and subtract the mortgage amount. We can now style the outputs by once again clicking Alt-HJ and let's go for this style here. So for the given inputs, our monthly mortgage payment will be this figure here. Our total cost throughout the 30-year term will be approximately $386,000, of which we will pay around $186,000 in interest. Next we can move on to our amortisation table. Firstly, let us add the title and once again format this as heading 3. We can then add our column headings, which will be the repayment period, the month, the balance, the interest, and the principal. We'll have a total of 360 periods as we have a term of 30 years or 360 months. So starting with 0, let's add 1 in the next row and drag this formula down to show 360 periods. We can then add the months to show when our final payments will be. For the first month, we're going to use the today function to provide us with today's date. To add 1 month from today's date, we will type equals EDATE, take the previous month and add 1 to it. This is not in the date format, so we can click Ctrl 1 and select date. We can then double click the bottom right hand corner to bring this formula down for all subsequent periods. The balance in period 0 is £200,000 as our first payment is in period 1. Before we calculate the balance in the subsequent periods, we're going to calculate the interest and principal. For the interest payments, we're going to use IPMT. Firstly, we take the interest rate and divide it by 12. Here we'll add absolute references to ensure the selected cell doesn't change as we move down, and we can do this by clicking the F4 key. We will then add the current period, followed by the total number of periods, which is the term multiplied by 12. Finally, we'll input the mortgage amount. Before we click enter, we'll add a negative sign in front of the function to ensure that the final value is positive. For the principal, we're going to use the PPMT function. So we can simply copy the IPMT formula and change it to PPMT. Next, we can move on to the balance. The balance in period 1 is the balance in period 0 minus the principal in period 1. We can then select these 3 cells and double click the bottom right hand corner to bring them down. When we go to the final period, we can see that our final repayment is in the year 2050 and our balance will be £0 as we will have fully repaid our mortgage. However, you'll notice that when we change the term to say 35 years, the table doesn't adjust as the final period no longer shows our balance to be 0. In the next video, I will explain how we can use VBA to overcome this and ensure the amortization table adjusts according to the mortgage term. If you found this video useful, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the Excel Hub for weekly Excel tutorials, techniques, and examples.